I feel that most people buying Teslas nowadays are somewhat tech savvy. You're more than likely the tech support person in your family, if you know what I mean. So the adjustment period isn't as bad as many people would think. It also helps that Tesla has the best UI in the game, but even still, there are some things, if I were buying my first Tesla today, that I would want to know. And if you're a new Model 3 owner without stocks and you're having problems with your turn signals getting stuck, stick around as the last thing to know will be how to fix that. First up, let's talk about your daily charge limit. One of the biggest questions I get from new owners. First, you need to figure out what kind of battery you have. If you have a long range or performance, then you have a normal battery or an NMC. If you have a rear-wheel drive, then you could have either an NMC or an LFP, just depends on what year your car was made. If you're buying new right now, only the rear-wheel drive Model 3 has an LFP battery, hence why it doesn't qualify for the federal tax credit in the States. Pause, Tesla actually just stopped selling the normal rear-wheel drive with the LFP in the States at least. So yeah, you can't even get it unless you get like existing inventory. Another easy way to tell what kind of battery you have is by going to your charging screen. If it says to charge to 100% once per week, then it's an LFP. If not, then it's an NMC or just a normal battery. I'm not going to discuss the differences between the two. There are pros and cons to both. For a while, Tesla was telling people with LFP cars to charge to 100% daily, but then updated their language to once per week. Without getting too into the weeds of battery chemistry and whatnot, LFP packs have a harder time determining the battery capacity compared to NMC, thus they need to be charged to 100% somewhat frequently to allow the BMS to recalibrate. So LFP people, charge to 100% at least once per week. As for every other day of the week, just follow what NMC pack people do. So in order to find what your daily charge limit should be, just do the following. Charge the car to 80% and go about your normal day and commute. After a week or so, if your end of day average is higher than 50%, lower your daily charge limit. Batteries are under the least amount of stress between the 30 to 50% range, and the more time that the batteries can spend around this range throughout their entire lifespan, the better degradation will be in just overall battery health. For example, my daily commute is 10% to get to my office, another 10% to get to class, and another 10% to get home. I charge to 80% daily and get home with around 50%. If I wasn't purposefully charging to 80% to compare my old Tesla's degradation after a year of doing the exact charging habit that I'm explaining to you now, I would decrease my daily charge limit to around 60%. I'm also at a point now where I just don't care about a few extra percentages of degradation over a few years. I'm very much a drive hard and plug in to 80% every night kind of person, and taking it to 100 when I'm leaving for a road trip or just really need to charge up to 100%. Now, of course, this is all if you have home charging. If you don't have home charging, try your best to get home charging. If you still can't get home charging, well, I have a video for that you can check out. Now, while we're on the topic of charging, if you do have home charging, tip number 2 is going to be how to make it cheaper. Most electric companies will offer different plans that you can choose from. A standard plan, which is just a set amount per kilowatt hour, or a time of day plan that will have an on and off peak period. During your off peak, the kilowatt hour price will be cheaper, and on peak, more expensive. There can also be other plans. If I'm not mistaken, Tesla offers their own like electricity company plan that you can get in Texas that makes charging the car at night like a flat fee. But yeah, you'll need to call your local electric company to see what they offer in your area. But assuming the off-peak times are doable for you and will save you a decent amount, I recommend it. For me, during the summer months, so I believe it's like April to the end of October, it makes a lot of sense for me. I'm saving like 30% on my electricity bill, and the time is extremely doable. It's like 2 to 6 p.m. During the winter months, like the fall, spring, and winter months, it's not doable at all. It's like 6 to 10 a.m., which is fine, but then it's 6 to 10 p.m. as well, which is not fine. You know, that's when we're cooking dinner, doing laundry, and using other appliances around the house. So I just end up going back to my normal like non-on-off peak plan during the winter, and then I swap back during the summer. Tesla also just recently overhauled their charging settings in the car to better assist people that do have on and off peak rates. You can now enable a schedule with a hard start and stop time and have it vary per day of the week. If you have multiple start and stop times per day, like what I just mentioned during the winter for me, where it's 2 different periods that are split, then it can also accommodate that as well because, well, you can add multiple schedules per day. Just head on into your car's settings, schedule, and then create. Next up, accessories. I can't tell you how many times per week I was vacuuming my floors or wiping down my screen due to all the fingerprints when I got my first Tesla. Get you some all-weather floor mats, a screen protector, and if you get a matte screen protector, then it'll help with glare tremendously. Some inserts to help with organizations, maybe a sunshade if you live in a super hot place. I'll have all the accessories that I have and recommend linked down in the description. And if it's from Test Stuff, you can use code YouTube, all caps, for 10% off your entire order, and all back-ordered items will ship before the end of October. Now let's talk Tesla's premium connectivity and how to have your phone automatically hotspot to your car if you don't want to pay for it. I personally think Tesla's premium connectivity is worth it. You pay $99 for the year and essentially get an unlimited data plan for your car. However, if you don't want to pay for it, you can hotspot your phone to your car if you're already paying for a hotspot plan from your cellular provider. Though, please note that if you have FSD or full self-driving, your car will eat a ton of data. Like I've seen upwards of several gigabytes per drive. Also, not everything that is unlocked from premium connectivity is available from hotspotting. Like Live Sensory View, you need premium connectivity for that. I have an iPhone, so the following method that I'm about to show is for iPhone, but I assume Android has something similar that you can just search for. Open up your Shortcuts app and click Automation at the bottom. Then select the plus icon in the top right and scroll down until you see Bluetooth. Select it. Now press choose next to device and you should see your Tesla listed here, assuming you've set up Bluetooth with your car. From there, choose run immediately unless you'd like to confirm it. Make sure is connected is selected and choose next. Now select new blank automation followed by add action and search for hotspot. You will want to choose the option that says set personal hotspot and make sure it is set to turn personal hotspot on, and you're done. Then, to have it auto turn off, create another identical automation to what you just created, but this time have is disconnected selected instead of is connected, and have turn personal hotspot set to off instead of on. Now, whenever you get in and out of your Tesla, your phone will auto hotspot without you having to do anything. Also, in case you're wondering if you need to actually use Bluetooth in the car, like selecting the Bluetooth app or stream music from your phone, you don't, right? It just auto connects in the background. But yeah, I have an entire video going in depth on premium connectivity that you can check out if you're interested. Now, one of the best parts about owning a Tesla is the built-in dash cam. Always recording 24/7, all while saving straight to a USB stick that you have immediate physical access to, no needing to go on to a cloud service and try to download. No, it's just right there, ready to go. You can even customize how it records. Manual, auto, or on honk. Something I wish I had known sooner is if you put the dash cam app icon in your dock, tapping it while driving will trigger the dash cam to save. You can also see the status if it's recording via the red dot. And tapping the app icon while it's in your dock works no matter what setting that you have it on. So this essentially makes the manual setting useless. I would also not recommend on honk because there is no delay buffer. The second you honk, it records the last 10 minutes and, well, what do you do right before an accident? You honk. I have seen tons of footage and just incidents where the footage gets everything right up until the accident, but the actual impact is cut off because, well, they started honking. In my opinion, auto is what you want, as it will attempt to auto record in the event of an accident, which could be a great backup if, let's say, the accident leaves you unconscious or just unable to respond and you can't tap the dash cam icon. Now, this next tip is actually pretty new. Tesla just added it very, very recently. I just, to be honest with you, didn't know where it was in the settings to turn it on. Auto fan speed adjustments when answering phone calls. It's located underneath your Bluetooth settings, which this is probably why I couldn't find it because, well, I never go underneath my Bluetooth settings. And it does exactly what it sounds like. As long as your AC is in auto, it will turn your fan speed down when you take a call via Bluetooth. So the person on the other end isn't getting their ears blasted and you can actually hear the other person. So if you're the type of person that rolls around with their fan speed on high, like me, this is probably fantastic for you. It's one of those set it and forget it, but when it does kick in, then you'll be happy that you turned it on. Now, this next tip is for people that don't want to pay $8,000 for full self-driving, but still want auto lane change to a certain extent. This will require you to have the autopilot activation setting set to double pull or double press if you're stockless. If it's set to single pull or press, this will not work because that disables TAC or traffic aware cruise control. When you're on autopilot and want to change lanes, put on your turn signal. Doing this will lessen the amount of force needed to be put into the wheel to break out of autopilot. Now grab the wheel and change lanes. Once you're in your lane, simply double pull or push to activate autopilot again. You'll notice that when you broke out of autopilot, TAC remained active, meaning you never had to touch the accelerator. TAC monitors traffic around and in front of you, so if the vehicle in front of you started braking when you began changing lanes, your car would also start braking. Auto turn signal off is a setting now, but just in case it didn't work, reactivating autopilot once you're in your new lane would also turn it off. This method is a lot better than turning off autopilot, having to use your pedals, turning on your turn signal, and just doing the whole thing manually. This is so much easier. One of the only road trips I took without like renting full self-driving, like the subscription, I used this method the whole trip and it was super flawless. It wasn't as easy as auto lane change, but it wasn't nearly as annoying as having to change lanes manually. Now, for all the parents out there, this one is for you. If your kid loves Disney stuff and you could have sworn that you saw a Disney Plus app in a Tesla at one point, but now your new Tesla doesn't have it, well, this is how you get it back. Pull up your browser, go to the Disney Plus website, and then it should auto repopulate back into the theater section within your car. And make sure that you sign in, because signing in will make it not disappear anymore. Now, while we're on the topic of apps, what about all those apps that they've added now that are just cluttering your app drawer that you never use? Well, you can actually get rid of them. Just head on into your music settings, go down to sources, and then start unselecting everything that you don't use. Now, this next one is something that I always knew but would just forget, and it really didn't get engraved into my mind until I went to a stockless car, but you can still use it even if you have stocks. And that is the quick settings for your wipers and headlights that can all be done right from your steering wheel. Activating your wipers via the button or the stock will bring up a menu over top of your cards at the bottom left of the screen. From here, you can quickly change the wiper setting by just tapping. However, you can also just use your scroll wheel to adjust the speed. This way, you never have to take your eyes off the road or hands off the wheel. Same is true with the lights. Just push the button or the stock, and then a quick setting will appear on the screen that you can use to adjust them. And finally, the turn signals on the wheel becoming stuck. I have talked about this in a multitude of other videos, and I've had a ton of people reach out saying that they're having the same problems. Now, in order to understand what's causing them to become stuck and how to fix it, you first need to know that they're not real buttons. When I first said that these weren't real buttons, like a few months back when I first got the car, people thought I was lying, or that some Model 3s were real, some weren't, and they had real ones because they could swear that when they clicked theirs, it felt like a click. But no, all new Model 3s have fake or capacitive buttons. So now that you know the buttons are fake and touch sensitive, stop and ask yourself, what are you normally doing when your turn signals get stuck? For me, it was always on the highway when driving manually for a bit, so like not in autopilot or FSD. What am I doing on the highway when driving manually? I'm doing nothing, and my hands are on the wheel, not moving. And because my hands aren't moving in the shape of the steering wheel, my thumb kind of just naturally rests on one of the turn signals or around the turn signals. Well, after some testing, trial, error, and seeing some other people mention it on forums, the turn signals are timing out after about 45 to 60 seconds of your finger just resting on them. And they're doing this to try and prevent accidental touching, because the car just thinks that your hand's sitting there, so it doesn't want you to accidentally move it. And yeah, this is nowhere in the manual, and every Tesla tech that I've talked to had no idea, but sure enough, this is what's happening. If you don't believe me, go out to your own car and test it. Don't push in or anything, just rest your finger on any of the buttons on the steering wheel, and after 60 seconds, try pushing in. I did this on every single button on my steering wheel, and sure enough, after 60 seconds, they stopped working. Now, if you're wondering, okay, well, that's really stupid, so how do I stop this from happening? Well, just don't rest your fingers there, and if you do, and your turn signal stops working, you need to let up for about 2 to 3 seconds to allow the timeout to go away. This is actually why the whole pushing the other turn signal to get the turn signal you're trying to get to worked, because normally pushing the other one would take about 2 to 3 seconds. So you'd push that and then you'd come back, and after that it'd give enough time to where the timeout would go away. If I'm being entirely honest, this is really stupid, and I hope it's a software thing that Tesla can just get rid of. I have never accidentally turned on my turn signal when I didn't mean to turn a turn signal on. I mean, like sometimes I'll hit my left turn signal a little high and I'll turn my right turn signal, but that's something else entirely. I would always rather have the ability to accidentally turn on a turn signal than for my turn signals to just not work immediately when I need them to, especially if it's like a super quick lane change I need to make. Also, not to mention that most people, including myself, drive with the lane like keep on assist, meaning that if you can't turn your turn signal on, then it thinks you're drifting and it pulls you back in. You got to override it. It's annoying. Tesla, why is this a thing? So yeah, if you've been having problems, well, there's your answer. If you're a new owner or about to be an owner of a stockless new Model 3, or I assume if they don't fix this, it'll be a thing when the Model Y comes out with no stocks, then just be mindful about your finger placement. If you know of anything that new owners or soon-to-be owners should know that I didn't mention, well then let us know down in the comments section. If you are new around here and want to see more Tesla-related stuff in your YouTube feed, then feel free to subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.